Go to the Administrative Committee. The first item today is discussion of proposed Navarre Beach Sea Turtle Conservation Center. Mr. Walker.
Ms. Holmes is here. As you see the letter to Commissioner Melvin from Ms. Holmes, which included a schematic drawing or artist rendering of what the center would look like, the Turtle Conservation Center would look like, and then all of a sudden, also you see a schematic of a site plan. And they're talking about the two buildings that are, I guess, at the westernmost portion of the park on Navarre Beach. Is almost a gatehouse, and then plus there was a visitor information center that have not been populated since the state turned it over to us.
Kathy Holmes, 6797 Fernandina Street in Navarre, Florida.
I'm Mike Sandler, 1905 Williams Creek Drive, Navarre.
And we're back today because in May when we presented, we had originally requested the Sandpiper Pavilion for our facility, which has a lot of public use. So that building itself was denied, but everyone had supported the project and just requested that we find another suitable building, and we have done that. The locations are 8740 and 8739 Gulf Boulevard. Both are right inside the county park. The buildings have been vacant for approximately 7 years. We would like to propose 8740, which was the State Park Visitor Information Center for our rehab facility. The outlying building is the 8739 on the south side of the road. That was a toll booth. We would like to request that as our records and admin building. By using that building, we don't take anything away from the rehab facility. We can use that whole visitor information center for the rehab facility. Also in June, we were accepted by the Navarre Beach Chamber Foundation and approved for them to accept donations for us since we had not yet received. We have our articles of incorporation and we have our not-for-profit status in the state. We are still awaiting our IRS tax determination letter. And we're looking, I just called them the other day and we're still looking at about 6 months out on that. So right now we're set up to accept funding under the foundation, and we have over $10,000 that have been donated and since we've had that happen in June. In July, I'm just trying to give you a little update on how things have progressed. July, we got a letter from the DEP Northwest Florida Water Management District giving us permission to pump water from Santa Rosa Sound into our rehab pools, not building or having anything that's a stationary permanent pump house, but portable pumps, portable hoses, which works out a lot better for water conservation, and it works out a lot better for the turtles because they've just got a lot of minerals and different things in the sound that is going to be better for turtle rehab. Let's see, also in July, we went back to the foundation to see if they would be willing to accept a lease for those buildings in the event that we did not have our tax-exempt status letter back. They voted that they would do that for us. It could be held under their name with contingent upon when we get our own tax-exempt status, it would come back to us. We would still, when I say we, I'm talking about the Navarre Beach Sea Turtle Conservation Center as an entity, would be responsible for any modifications, the liability insurance, and the maintenance of the building. They would just be the lease holder. It would be in their name until that point. We've also received a lot of in-kind services and people that are offering to help. We have a local licensed electrician that has offered for labors and materials for any modification once appropriate permits have been pulled to help us with the building, which is only going to be 8740. The 8739 building, I don't think there's going to have to be anything done to that. They've already had computers in there and phones. That's all we need in filing So I don't think there's going to be any modifications done to that. We have our logo for our facility. The artwork was actually donated by a local artist, excuse me. And then the logo itself was developed by Sandpaper Marketing. We've had a lot of free promotional opportunities also with flyers, school calendars, banners, different things that have been donated to us so we could go forward in our fundraising and get the word out. Been invited to a lot of different festivals and events. That's also helped with our fundraising efforts. The conceptual drawing and site plan that you see, the site plan and the drawing, they were originally designed by some civil engineering students at University of South Florida in Tampa and emailed to me, and then a local artist from Munson is the one that did the drawing and the site plan. Site plan is very fluid. That could change based on what we might need for our turtles and what would be better for the rehabilitation of the turtles. We have something that's really important that we're working on right now. We have 2 grants. One is the Coastal Partnership Initiative Grant. It has a deadline of October 31st. The second one is through the Florida Sea Turtle License Plate Tag Grant Program. That is due on the 15th of November. Both of those grants require that we have a facility and that we have a lease that is at least 20 years in length. I've talked with Ms. Jones about this, and we could do the lease contingent upon proof that we can be self-sufficient from year to year. A 20-year lease with the renewable part if we're, self-sufficient. I do not see a problem with that at this point, but the big thing is actually having the lease where we can show that we have a building and we're ready to go forward. One of the grants actually pertains to the filtration systems in the pools, which is a big cost in this facility, and there's a good chance both these grants could equal close to 60 grand if we're awarded. And one grant's for startup facilities, so we're pretty confident that we would be at least receive part of that money. Next thing I'd like to discuss is we had on October 11th our Santa Rosa County Development Services meeting. A lot of information and a lot of help for me came from that meeting. Everybody was very helpful. And some of the things that, some concerns that came up, I think are going to be easily remedied. We actually figured out some of this in the meeting and resolved the issues right then. The plans and the permits, of course, any engineering, building, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, any plans or permits are going to be through the county. They will be, under your regulations and your requirements. We'll meet whatever we need to meet before we start any kind of activities on that building out there. So no concerns on that. Public safety was another concern because the building is located in the center of the median as you come in, so you have your eastbound and westbound traffic, eastbound coming into the park, westbound going out. And the building would have, originally we had access with 2 doors on either side of the building, the north and south. We found out we only needed 1 door. So we're going to put the door on the north side of the building, which we still have our outgoing traffic, the eastbound traffic. And we think if we go ahead and we do a crosswalk, we're going to have some turtle-friendly exterior lighting anyway. The facility won't be opened at night, but signage where it says, pedestrian crosswalk. You already have a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit zone in the park, so the speed limit's very low. Hopefully we don't have anybody, trying to go through there at 55. But anything else that comes up as far as the public safety that needs to be addressed, we're more than willing to take care of that and make sure we're in compliance with everything. On the north side of the building, on the in the site plan drawing, you'll see that we put 4 rehab pools with, it's actually a wall using the concrete board, cement board siding that's already on the buildings, but it is a blowout style wall. Those are 4 rehab pools that have shade cloth over the top of them And those rehab pools would be used for the turtles that are getting better, out of ICU, and ready to get acclimated to the outside weather conditions again. But as far as having any problems with the flooding, since it's in a flood zone, those would be breakaway type walls designed to do that. Another thing that I wanted to bring up is we're going to be developing the pools, the filtration systems. We have to have an evacuation plan for any turtles that we have in the event of a storm. We have to evacuate. All of our equipment's going to have very easy disassembly to it. So we're going to be taking the high-end filtration systems, the turtles, the pools, and anything else. Everything will be evacuated with the turtles. Parking, we're good to go. We weren't sure about that, but right now, the 5 parking spaces with the 1 handicap parking space out there is sufficient. And if down the road we need additional, we plan on using the big parking lot to the north side, down by those 4 pavilions by the science station, and going ahead and having a boardwalk engineered where it'll be easy access for them to walk from that parking area through the sand. Come on back over to the facility. Depth of the main exhibit pool, based on where the sewer lateral and force main lines are located, I got with Terry Wallace, and he showed me where they were. This was a real easy fix once we looked at it. Originally, our design of our main exhibit, which would house probably a loggerhead sea turtle that has been in rehab for a long, long time, and for whatever reasons has injuries that are too severe to release into the wild, wouldn't be able to survive, would be in that pool. And when we were looking at this, instead of doing a 20 by 20 5-foot depth pool, we'll just move it to the north side and make it a rectangular pool. So it'll be away from all the sewer, the force main and the lateral sewer lines. And we can bring that back to you, when we get closer to that point, but we think that'll fix the sewer line's only about 4 feet down, so we would not be able to do the pool like it was originally designed. So today, that was pretty much it with the some of the concerns that came up during the meeting, and we think that those can be easily fixed. Nothing major on that. One other thing that came up was rerouting of the traffic so that the north side of our building, it would be the door when they were coming in and out, there would be no traffic on that north side. And that would entail taking the ends off of the 2 sand medians that are coming into the park and going out of the park, so you had enough room for 2-way traffic on the south side of the building instead of the north side. And so today, basically what we're here for is to request that we could get a 20-year lease on buildings 8740 and 8739 for our sea turtle rehab facility and our records admin area, contingent upon self-sufficiency shown each year. And then we are also still requesting the $165,000 one-time only set up money through Parks and Recreation, through District 4 Parks and Recreation funds. Most important right now, though, I would say, is our lease. We hate to miss out on grants because we don't have a physical location for our building. Any questions, comments? Electrical?
Mr. Cole.
Thank you. Kathy, my concern is that, a couple of things. Have you established any kind of tentative budget, like payroll, power and water, all the pertinent things on a monthly basis? Have you established that yet? Do you have a expected number of turtles that you would be tending to at any particular time? And I guess my biggest question is, why can't this be done in, we already have the marine science stood up out there. And why can't this be done in conjunction with that in that facility and expand that facility rather than, to me, it seems like a duplication of services. I know marine science is more about education and all the different, species that we have out there in the Gulf and Intercoastal Waterway. and turtles are certainly one of them. So why can't we use this in conjunction with that? And because I'm going to have a hard time with it in just the fact that, and not that it shouldn't be done, but in the fact that if we take the responsibility to nurture these animals, then what do we tell the group that feels a responsibility to nurturing back other wild species and you know, when they come to us? So that, just help me with some of those. I'm not saying I'm against that, your ideas and your plans, but I got a lot of constituents to answer to, and they very likely would have some of those same questions.
Okay, I'd be happy to answer those. We just redid our annual budget, and we also did a separate startup budget. So we do have those, and I would be happy to send you copies of those. As far as salaries, for the first 2 years, the people that are going to be working with us at the Conservation Center, including the veterinarians, we have 3 veterinarians. Dr. Dyson will be our main vet. She has the clinical sea turtle experience that is required to hold the permit for sea turtle rehab. And then there's 2 other vets, one in Gulf Breeze and actually one in Okaloosa County, that will be training under her. And so for the first 2 years, we have all of our services for everybody that's going to be working there. Everything, there are no salaries until this facility gets up and going. They're committed to the sea turtle conservation and rehab part of this, so there's no salaries. We do have our startup costs, our electric, our water, which the water, by being able to pump out of the sound, is going to save a tremendous amount of water usage each month. And I can send you both of those, because they're 2 different budgets. We did our startup, which of course is going to be a little bit more, and then just how we're going to run annually. For the conservation for the Conservation Center and the Science Station, when Charlene Morrow, this was originally her idea, to have some sort of facility where she could take in mainly cold stun. She was thinking when we had that big cold stun event in 2010 where there were thousands of turtles that had places to go and they were all over Florida. That was when she kind of started thinking about this. The issue was the school district, this requires a lot of permitting, and it requires a lot of special permitting, and it requires the people that hold those permits to have special experience in the areas of whatever permit they're requesting. The school, Charlene does the education part, falling under the school, they don't have that experience to hold the permits. So the education portion, she is actually our education liaison on our board for the Conservation Center. We're still going to be incorporating that, and the closeness of the 2 facilities helps facilitate that. But being under the school really wasn't an option for her. She did talk to them about that. And then also talking about being her own non-for-profit didn't work out under the school district either. So there's some, I think, because she's got dual enroll, she works for Pensacola State College and Navarre High School. So that was the issue with that. As far as other animals, for any marine mammals, because I'm also on the Marine Mammal Stranding Coordinating Network team, you have to have special pools for any kind of dolphins. Whales, there's very few places here that have anything to accommodate that, so they have to be transported long distances. Gulf World and Gulfarium can take dolphins, but that wouldn't be something that we would be able to do. This facility would be a dedicated sea turtle facility to take any type of sea turtle from anywhere in Florida. Alabama will take, any turtle, but it's strictly for sea turtles. When it comes to wildlife, we have Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge. I also do volunteer work for them, so we pick up all kinds of birds and otters and raccoons and possums. They have a home. They have a place to go at Emerald Coast Wildlife Refuge. And also in Escambia County with Northwest Florida Wildlife Sanctuary. So, I mean, if there's any other species that might be out there, we have turtles for land turtles, gopher tortoise, all that. We have facilities where those animals are taken, designated facilities for those.
All right, thank you.
I had some questions. First of all, I want to commend you for what you're trying to do. I think it would be a great project. But to me, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
Okay.
And first of all, the seed money that you're requesting from the Recreation Fund in District 4, $165,000, you say, for designing the center. How did you come up with these costs or this amount of money?
That was based on the addition to the existing building going eastward with the pool, the filtration system for that pool, and filtration systems for the outside pools. This amount that we were requesting started back in May, April and May, and we've come a long way since then. We actually may have a opportunity to get the pools and filtration at a much reduced rate.
So this is not only for designing the center, but it's also for constructing. See, that's not, was not stated. But, so you do have a estimated cost of what it would cost to construct it?
$61,000. I had one contractor come out and take a look at it. I had another contractor come out, didn't actually give me anything in writing, but based on what he said 61 was pretty reasonable since they were constructing a pool, also a exhibit area. Now, since then, we've also been approached by Habitat for Humanity and 2 other people that I'm going to be hopefully presenting to within the next 2 weeks that are interested in possibly large donation sums.
Okay.
So we might be able to get that for less.
And you mentioned grants, that you have a couple of grants that you're applying for, or want to apply for, but on grants, they're not a sure thing either. That's
Correct.
the thing. And also, what, on your continued funding, what is going to be the source of continued funding?
It's going to be the grant writing, the fundraising, annual events, the education portion of the program. We have a big educational component where we're going to be partnering with Charlene Morrow with the Science Station for summer camps, day camps. She's going to be doing a special, I can't tell you much about this program, but she's right now in the process of designing a special program to include the Conservation Center where there's an additional fee included in that for some of her programs.
And you mentioned earlier that you had an operating cost, but was that operating cost based on the first 2 years that you have free labor?
Yes, that's what we were doing, the operating costs on how many filtration systems we needed, what that was going to run. Also, single-phase versus 3-phase power, which we talked about at the development services.
Yeah, I saw a note on that and about checking with the power company on 3-phase compared to single-phase. And most of the time, they want to charge you to be able to bring that in. And I would think unless they're feeling very giving, that it's usually expensive.
And we have been approached by Gulf Power for grant opportunity on that, so.
Well, like I say, I personally appreciate what you're trying to do, but before I could go along with any type of lease on these buildings for that length of time, I would have to have some more concrete information.
Would you like also to see the annual and startup budgets? Does
Well,
that help
but the thing about it is too, is on the continued funding, like I say, I mean, you've got some ideas, but you don't have any guarantees.
Okay.
Just like with grants, you've got some ideas, but there are no guarantees.
Okay.
Anyone else? Commissioner Salter.
Kathy, like everybody else said, I admire you for what you're trying to do, but Commissioner Williamson's probably already asked most of my questions. I think it's a great opportunity. I would just hate to see us spend a lot of money up front designing it, getting it up operating, then you lose your funding. Now you have a wonderful project sitting down there that you can't continue to fund. So self-sufficiency, sustainability is what I'm looking at. Once you get it done, how you going to keep doing it? Primarily your ongoing funding, your operating budget. That's my biggest concern.
Okay.
Because I could possibly see it 2 years, 3 years from now, if you lose your funding, then it comes back to the county, and now we've got some additional costs that we had not anticipated. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
How do you make yourself self-sustainable?
And I will tell you that the majority of, I'm going to just say sea turtle rehabilitation facilities are not-for-profit, and the way that they are funded year by year are through the grants and the fundraising, the partnerships with the local schools, the local colleges, and we want, at some point, we plan on getting partnered with the local colleges too, but by doing that, we would need to have some additional veterinary things available on site. Right now, our veterinarians that would be working with us, anything that would have to be done for surgical procedures or x-rays or anything, we would transport to St. Francis Animal Hospital. So, but that's how Sea Turtle hospitals stay up and going and running. Even the larger hospitals like the Sea Turtle Hospital in Marathon Key, it's through the grants. But the grants, again, it's hard to get the grants approved if you don't have a physical building. They don't want to give you the money for pools and filtration, which is one of the grants we're working on right now, if you don't have a building to put those pools and filtration systems in.
Mr. Chairman, and I do a lot of work with grants and our foundation for our veterans and things like that, so I understand that. I know you got to have this before you can get that, but I want to see more of a concrete plan on how you're going to be
Okay. Well, we have a business plan
self-sustainable.
too.
Also, reading through the backup material, it seems like there's going to have to be a lot of infrastructure changes down there as far as public safety and traffic goes.
I don't know if there's going to need to be a lot done if the traffic is rerouted to two-way traffic. The main thing that has to occur is the sand median as you're coming into the park, then you have the building that's got a sand median around it, and then there's another sand median. The ends of those medians would have to be removed, and that allows for two-way traffic. We'd have to get an engineer, I'm not a roads person, but to take those off, it does open up the space for two-way traffic in and out on the south side of the building, which takes care of our public safety issues.
And like you said, there'd be probably a lot of children activities, so that's something else I'd be looking at, is make sure that
Okay,
we're addressing that.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. What I would like to see is maybe you get with Commissioner Melvin and see if he can provide some funding to actually give you the ability to be able to design the center properly so that you could really come up with some actual costs, because we're all over the board here as to what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. And I don't think that, from what I know about construction, that the cost that you mentioned would actually work. I mean, you have people talking about wanting to give you something or do something, but a lot of times where they're at when it comes time to do it. You know, that's the problem. But I'm like Commissioner Salter, I would really like to see a more concrete plan.
Okay. All right.
Commissioner Cole.
Real quick, Kathy, does the 165 include there was recently some money that the Tourist Development Council voted on for this project? Would that 165 include that 60,000, or is that in addition to?
It did not. I was waiting, I didn't include that because I know that it has to be voted on
Understand.
by the board.
But if
here,
you
so-
was to receive that, is the total you're looking for that plus the 165, or is it the 165? Could we, in other words, would it lessen that 165?
It could
Are
be
you
like-
looking for 120 or 165? I guess that's easy.
If we do receive the 60,000 from the TDC, the money from the county could be reduced, if that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the other thing to the county attorney, if there was a commitment from Commissioner Melvin to support this project and the board to support the project, could a letter of intent or a letter of commitment help her in pursuing grants without executing the lease? Could we provide something like that would help her with grants?
I am unfamiliar with the requirements of the grants she mentioned. She has said this morning that they want to see a lease, so she's researched that far more than I have. I'm uncertain.
But could we provide that if she came back and that would substantiate her applying for the grant, board could take action and provide that, I guess.
Certainly, if the board decides they want to lease property to her, the board may do so.
Kathy, you might want to pursue that with the grant applicants. And
So from what we're hearing today, do we need to move this to Thursday? I mean, we have two commissioners that are not here today. I think there's a lot of questions that needs to be answered. I really would rather you bring it back at another time. And I did have a question about the TDC money. Could any of that money be used for design?
Yes. Yes,
So
it
I
can.
think if you had that money from them that you use for design, or some of that money, then you could be able to come up with some more realistic cost.
And also, once I meet with these two other people who are very interested in being sponsors for the Conservation Center, that may also reduce the cost.
Okay. Well, at this time, I'd say that we just really don't need to bring this back Thursday. We need to wait and come get back to us, if that's agreeable with the board. Okay, so this will not be moved to Thursday without objection. Hearing none, it passes. Thank you.